Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. First off, on the south end of Giga Texas, a major milestone was recently achieved. That is, the south extension is now structurally completed, and the ceremonial final beam was installed on the 21st of May, and we saw some of this on my previous video. Now, a topping out ceremony is a construction tradition that has been occurring in some fashion for centuries as a celebration of project milestones. We see that here with the image of the topping ceremony. Traditionally, this ceremony occurs when the final structural beam is raised into place, completing the building's frame. And that's exactly what has happened here at Giga Texas. Now, fortunately, Tesla electrical design engineer Sean Kent posted these images during the ceremony, and quoting him, he says, "It's been a busy few months here at Giga Texas. Now the building services install within the factory expansion will ramp up for what will become a very unique project. Congratulations to the team so far. Watch this space." And I just want to give my personal congratulations to Tesla, the contractors, the steel workers, and everybody involved. An amazing achievement. Congratulations. Next up, Tesla just released its 2023 Impact Report, and there is a lot of information that is available through these documents. Now, the inset photo gives you a link so you can get to the summary document, which is about 20 pages long, and the link at the bottom of the screen is the full report. It's about 159 pages long, so rather than trying to summarize everything here for you, I'll refer you to these links. They'll be in the video description as well. I would recommend that you read both of them. There is a ton of information to go through, but what we're going to do here is highlight a few that have to do with Giga Texas or some of the subjects that I have been covering. The first of which has to do with the recycling program for aluminum scrap that we've been seeing under construction for the last year in the casting machine structure. This is where they added that furnace and kiln and all of the ventilation system for this area, and this is allowing them to recycle not only scrap from castings but also different kinds of aluminum, including recycled components from non-Tesla vehicles such as aluminum wheels. Tesla talked a lot about their battery recycling programs that are underway at all of the various gigafactories that they have throughout the United States and also overseas. They also had this image that is listed as Tesla Recycling Facility in Austin, Texas. So they are doing recycling of battery materials here. We've seen some of the cans for the 4680s being taken off-site for recycling. This particular image, I think, is of a location that is physically not at Giga Texas, but in the nearby Austin area. They talk about the Corpus Christi Lithium Plant that is under construction. I put the image at the bottom of the screen in my last drone video of that site in March of 2024, and I'll be looking to update that soon. But they talk about using a low toxicity industrial reagents instead of sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide. They use 35% less natural gas for the heating process, and energy optimization and heat integration reduces plant heating load by over 14 megawatts. Now, I happen to have done a very in-depth 6-part series about the lithium plant, and I have all 6 of them in a playlist on my YouTube channel. And I go into quite a bit of detail, including the chemical processing that they use at this plant and how it is separated from most of the traditional lithium processing. So I recommend you take a look at my 6-part series on my YouTube channel. And there's a lot of information in each of the videos, and I think that will help understand more and put into context what we see here in the Impact Report. So there's a quick summary of some of the items that affect Giga Texas directly or some of the other items that I've been covering here recently. I hope that you found this information helpful, and I do recommend that you read the entire 159-page document. Again, the link is at the bottom of the screen and in the video description. That's pretty much the news that I wanted to talk about today for this video. So let's get into the drone, let's fly around and see what Giga Texas looks like on this Friday. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. It's Memorial Day weekend here at Giga Texas. Please take time to think about and remember those who served but never made it home. Now, because of the weekend for the holiday, there is some changes that are going on at Giga Texas when it comes to production and the activity levels, and we're going to see that through the rest of the weekend. But we'll start here on the southeast side, flying over the River Road extension. We can see the pond on the left that's being reshaped, and of course the intersection with Robotic Avenue, and the Robotic Avenue extension heading off to the north on the right-hand side of the screen. There is some activity on the multi-level parking garage today. We see earth being brought in the bottom of the screen, filling in this section by the trees in the pond. And we also see some trench work on the south side of the building, but most of it is being done on the north end of the building, where they are putting in more of those large steel corrugated pipes into trenching, and this will continue to work its way to the west and will eventually connect into the existing underground system that is already installed along the east side of the main factory. We do see some additional trench work on the northwest corner of the multi-level parking garage on the ground next to the stairs and the elevator shaft. Now, as we look back down to the south along the east side of Giga Texas, we see that there is activity going on in the roof here in the open section on the body in white. This is that cooling unit and the ventilation system that's being installed. This is by permit for a data center in the body in white section of the factory, which is directly below where we are flying right now. So it looks like they have some of the ventilation ducts installed, some of the grating material, but they're still working on getting the rest of that installed. Now, we do see some of the pipe work and some of the stands for the pipes, but also we see some of the cable trays that run on top of the pipes on these mounts along the entire length of the building. And as one of my viewers, David, pointed out, this is going to be for much more wiring that's installed. It may be related to the supercomputer system being installed in the south end. We see work on the cooling structural platform on the left-hand side of the screen with that fiber reinforced pipe superstructure on at least half of it. We also see a lot more of the roof decking has been installed. In fact, almost the entire roof is now covered with this metal roof decking. There is concrete trucks today. They are doing a large concrete pour on the ground floor in the middle of the extension, and that's underneath where we think that supercomputer system will be installed. More activity here on the southeast corner with more rebar being installed, or at least delivered here on these trucks for installation on the inside. The glass parapet wall continues to get panels installed, and it's working its way from the east to the west, as you can tell on the upper right-hand side of the screen. And this is a good view how the entire glass face of the south end is starting to look as those parapet wall glass panels are installed. More on the ground that have been delivered and getting ready for installation in this open section above the windows. I'll bring the drone back up. We'll fly over the roof section. We can see that crews are busy in the southwest corner, putting in more of that roofing materials. This looks like they're going to be using that 2 layers of insulation and the white roof materials, similar to what we see on the south end, and a little different than what we see on the middle section over where that supercomputer data center will be. And again, that may be related to code for maybe fire. It may also be related to eventual roof rework that is done to install cooling systems. So something we'll have to watch. As I fly the drone over the western side of that extension, and we also see where the temporary platform is on the left. There are no Cybertrucks exiting the factory today, and this may be and is most likely related to the Memorial Day weekend, And I think that we're going to see production at a low rate over the next few days because of the holiday. Now, looking inside the extension from this vantage point, we see a lot of work that is going on here. The ground floor has had all that concrete poured. The open section of the perimeter grade beam is where we are monitoring the boring tunnel because it's coming through this general area. See more work on the left-hand side of the screen for the second floor for more concrete, a lot more of those pipes that have been delivered, and I've found 3 different workshops on the east and west sides that are making them. We see that mezzanine, and also there's some scaffolding with plastic around the area where we expect that supercomputer system to be installed on that second floor and second floor mezzanine. If you look past the telephone pole underneath the ground, you can see where all of that shiny concrete is. That's where all that concrete pour is going on today, and they are preparing that section right now, and looks like there's some additional work that is being done in that area. Also, it looks like there's some additional, I don't know, not quite mezzanine, but some structures that are hanging down from the ceiling in that area as well. And a good view of that red and white lettered bridge crane that's been installed underneath that second floor mezzanine. More of the glass panels have been installed on the southwest corner. In fact, they're closing in on the corner of this structure on the left-hand side of the screen. We also see how the glass is framing out the opening here, which may be a secondary entrance, but it'll be something that we'll have to watch and see. The yellow crane also has that lifting counterweighted beam that will pick up more of the glass panels for installation. So as we fly up over the glass panel crew workshop, I'll show you where more of the flexible orange conduit and the fiber optics are being installed here, going underneath a river road and then going through this location over towards the South Bridge area. So there continues to be a lot of work on this fiber optic cable, and it extends the entire length of the west side berm from this point all the way up to the north part of the factory. So here's a good view from the southwest corner looking to the northeast over the factory. And then as we cross over the highway, we're going to bring the drone back down, and I'm going to show you some of the activity with the boring company on this side of the site, particularly here where we see this metal ramp, which will be for future parts of the boring tunnel, and more of the concrete tunnel liners lined up here. I don't see a lot of activity here today for the boring tunnel. I don't think that we're going to see much of the work done here for the weekend. And because of that, I'll just give a quick view of some of the parts of the site. Here's the entrance to the tunnel, the exposed liners, and how that tunnel looks right now. Looks like we have a worker inspecting 2 of the liner trucks with some of the concrete liners on them waiting for movement inside. We do not see any of the conveyor belts working. There's no new dirt in the spoils bin, and there's no activity to remove any of that as well. And there's very little work going on in the generators or the grout system with those 3 silos here today. And generally, there's just not a lot of crew here in this, at least this time of the morning that I flew here on Friday. But a good overall view of the boring tunneling operation that is going on here. I'll continue to bring the drone back and get a good view of where it is pointed and how it is going underneath the highway over towards that extension. And the kind of the survey equipment that I showed you more closely on the berm next to the highway in the upper left-hand side of the screen. I've been told that's monitoring to see if there's any subsidence on the ground over the tunnel and make sure that there's no damage to the highway. And here's a good view just looking through this location into where the tunnel is currently exposed to the air above the ground. So we'll continue to monitor and see what is going on with the boring company. Now at the end of line facility, one of the changes that we can definitely tell is that it appears that the employee vehicles are now parking on the east side of the building. This is a change from what they've been doing in the past, and I don't know if that's allowing them to have more space in the outbound lots for new vehicles. Only the western half of the superchargers are seeing new vehicles today. As I mentioned, production is going to be kind of slow to almost non-existent through the weekend, although we do see some Model Ys exiting the factory, and we'll see that here a little later in the video. More vehicles lined up on the outbound lot waiting for pickup by the trucks. Let me give you a good view here of the west staging location. You can see some of those cable trays on the right. That's what we saw on the roof of the body in white. Also, these blue pipes, and the work that's going on here is connecting the utilities to the housing unit here. And I did notice over at Farm to Market 973, there's additional utility work related to this going on. It's a good view of this fabrication tent, some of the materials, and these pipes that are being modified with flanges. And I think this is related to the second floor of the extension and that cooling system that we saw the other pipes that had been delivered inside. You see more of those pipes here being stored temporarily until they have fabrication. As we climb up over the power lines, something did catch my eye here. I wanted to show you in the new lot on the left, but first I wanted to give you just a quick update of this clearing. There is no activity going on right now, and I'm not sure what the point is for this part of the site yet, but we have seen periodic earthwork going in that area. But I did notice that all of these concrete vaults and other materials are now being stored on this southwest corner of this triangular lot. This is the lot that has power, the bases for lighting, and as one viewer pointed out, there may also be some of the chargers for employee vehicles being installed here. But overall, this is a change with the materials, and I wanted to give you a good view of this, and then looking over towards the main factory, you can get a good idea where we are located. The warehouse on wheels with all of the trailers is very busy on the upper right-hand side of the screen. And as I fly back over the power lines, I'm going to give you a good view here of all of these blue items, which I think are parts for another stamping machine or machines, smaller ones than we've seen before. And all of these mobile superchargers, I think that these may be related to either Memorial Day weekend or because of Starship's launch coming up. We've seen them use these before in supercharger stations between Austin and down towards South Padre Island, so that may be what that is for. Now, I did mention that there is another pipe shop. Here is one where they are doing more modifications to those large pipes that I believe are part of the cooling system for that south extension. Here's a good view and flight over the outbound lot to give a sense of the activity, the number of vehicles. Many of the trucks picking up cars are actually picking up the Cybertrucks today, and I've seen them on the highways both north and south of Giga Texas. Here's a good look at this lot filled with Cybertrucks. It looks like about 5.5 lines worth of Cybertrucks, so probably more than 100 here in this section. And this inventory does continue to change out as they are manufactured, brought over here, moved off site. But other than that, it's really hard to definitively tell much more about the vehicles. But the production rate does still seem to be pretty good for the Cybertrucks, although with the caveat of this holiday weekend. As I bring the drone down, the common question is can I tell if they have the different hubcaps or different tires or the different interior? And the answer is not really, not from this altitude and the brief glimpses that I get with the drone. But we will fly over towards the west side of the end of line. Most of the earthwork has been completed in the bottom of the screen. Some work on the air handling systems on the west side as well today, and we see many of the Cybertrucks lining up to go through the end-of-line facility for processing, although to me it looks like all three doors are shut, so it may be just stacking them here temporarily, or they just haven't gotten to that work yet since it is early on a Friday morning. So let's cross over the highway again and let's take a look at the activity that is going on here near the 4680 battery cell production portion of the factory. This dirt area still hasn't had any real changes in the last couple of weeks, so we'll just continue to monitor that. We do see more recycling of the cans for the 4680s, and as we discussed in the intro, the impact report talked about their recycling efforts in the Austin area, along with many of the other gigafactories that Tesla has. This equipment is part of that horizontal drilling for the fiber optic cabling, and they've been doing some trenching and horizontal drilling in this area. You can see where the mud is next to those concrete barriers. And again, that goes all the way down to the South Bridge. Taking a look at the north part of the 4680 cell production portion of the factory, it just doesn't look like there's a lot of activity going on here on the outside. That could indicate that they have progressed pretty far with the work on the inside, or it could indicate that there has been some sort of change. And it's the weekend again for the holiday, so it's hard to tell for sure. Now, where you see these castings and the rack mounts for the castings on the ground, this used to have a three-part trailer that has recently been removed, so this part is open for the castings. The work here for the conduit continues. We can see some more work in the vault on the bottom of the screen, and also they are pouring concrete on this section that has had the rebar installed. And I'm going to do a 360-degree turn, come back here to show you where that conduit is, plus the marks that go across the roadway where we're going to see additional trenching. And again, this is that section with the concrete and the trenches. And as we go across the road, we can see how this work is progressing through the parking lot in this area. On the bottom, you can see the marks for more of the trenching, and it'll look just like this all the way to that north end of the casting machine structure. There's also some concrete vaults being prepared to be installed here by this excavator, and then this is going to connect to those trenches that you can see over on Tesla Road where the cars are driving right now, and that'll connect over to this area where we see the last parts of the conduit waiting for connections. And then through this location with the concrete vaults, this excavation under the power lines, and then it will continue up to the south end of the electrical switch yard. So I'll give you a good view of how this entire site and the megapacks look here today. Next to these two control trailers and over the underground vault that they are placed on top of, we can see the concrete vaults and where the conduit goes through this area on the right-hand side of the screen, and then south it connects into that conduit that goes to the casting machine structure. We also see some work going on here, and this is the old temporary electrical switchyard location, so it looks like that may be related to cleanup, final cleanup for that removal. As we fly up over the Tesla temporary trailers, 3 of them seem to be displaced, so possibly they may be starting to break down that area. And some of that functions will probably be replaced in that new extension on the south end. The Tesla Road extension doesn't seem like there's been much work that's going on here lately, but as we get over to the die shop and following up what we saw on my previous video with EDRA deliveries, it looks like there is another very large, very heavy delivery that's just been made, and this one is wrapped in kind of a green vinyl. The truck driver is starting to take that wrap off. Here's a good close-in view of how that looks. and I do believe that this is related to those deliveries. Now, the die shop's responsibility is to do some of the design, maintenance, testing, and also manufacturing of dies that are used in the casting machines. Having this capability on site gives Tesla a great advantage to ensuring that the casting machine uptime is as high as possible. So here's another quick view of this delivery, and it will be going into that large black roll-up door that you see in the middle right-hand side of the screen. So let's fly up to the west side and the north part of the die shop. Still waiting for the earthwork to be completed and more of the asphalt. The furnace on the right-hand side of the screen is part of that die shop manufacturing process. More of the items waiting for delivery inside. And of course, the chiller plant that serves both the cathode plant and the die shop and how it looks today. Still haven't seen the concrete panels replacing that opening with the plastic on that west side yet. We see more of these white items that are waiting to be moved into that large open door in the center top of the screen into the cathode plant. And as I pull away, I wanted to address this here. This small structure is the cell test and recycle lab. However, this is not the one that we talked about or we saw in the impact report from Tesla. This one is much too small and it does not match the configuration of that image that I showed you and we discussed in the intro. The Wade Pit, still not much activity. There is a lot of activity with the crash testing facility and multiple different vehicles. I've had some viewers ask why do they have to keep crash testing the vehicles, and it is very common within the industry, and it is part of the continuing development and ensuring that the vehicles meet crash worthiness in multiple different types of crashes. Now, this is the east side of the Tesla Road extension. We do see some materials in addition to the steel corrugated pipes here, and some of them look like they may be guard shacks that will be placed here at some point in the future. The trenching and the vaults for these steel corrugated pipes has not progressed very far in the last week or so here, but hopefully after the holidays we'll see more of this effort resume. So let's fly back over to the northeast and the east side of the casting machine structure, and let's take a look at the activity on that side of the building. I'll use this lower vantage point with a zoom to give you a good view of the work that is going on here. That large and low rectangular opening used to be 3 receiving doors. That's being remodeled. However, in the middle of the screen on the wall, you can see vertical cut marks and what appears to be a relocation for those receiving doors. And they're right next to those 2 larger black doors. So that is a definite reconfiguration of the side of the building. This is also the foundation that's getting rebar for the baghouse filtration system, and a good view of its progress today with most of the rebar installed on the south end so far. A lot more of the castings and racks along the east side of the building and underneath the power lines. And of course, this area is still waiting for possibly plumbing before they can do the rebar and finish up that concrete section. As we get towards the turbo roundabout, we see some crews working on the berm here next to the parking lot in the bottom of the screen. And in the east testing lot, there are Cybertrucks, but there's noticeably fewer. So that may be indicating that they are completing the checks that they need on these particular vehicles, and they are getting to the point where they are able to be moved to the outbound lot and then shipped off to customers. So I think that's a positive sign. I think ultimately they want to stop using this lot for this purpose and allow more employees to be able to park in this lot, as parking continues to be an issue here at Giga Texas. And of course, we have that multi-level parking garage that's being built too, which will help. So as I bring the drone up to a higher altitude, we'll fly off to the east side. And this gives you a good overall view of this entire part of the site. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what we were able to talk about in the intro and throughout the video. Also, don't forget that this is Memorial Day, and I hope you have a great long weekend and holiday. Take care.